Hello, welcome back to another round of TFR eSports. Here we are once again for the F3 division of Season 25. Here we are for round 12 of 15, and we have only 4 rounds to go, and the championship is very much up for grabs between Ledanes and Alfie in the Haas, and we're going to find out tonight as well if Raheem can also stay in the mix. He's another driver that we're going to have to keep an eye on. We're in the final stages of qualifying here, which may not be too important around a track like this because overtaking should be very important. On provisional pole with a 131 dead, 3 attempts clear of Ultimate Stan, who's just started his final flying lap. Kerbald is in the pit lane. He will not improve anymore in this session. MB is also out there on a flying lap as well, so those 2 challengers are still out there. So too is Ollie Beam in the first sector. Here is Alfie, who's slightly up in the first sector, but currently 1.1 seconds down. Well, it's plenty up for grabs then, still in this session, with Raheem as well, setting a purple first sector there, so he is absolutely flying, considering he's 1.2 seconds off. Larry as well there in the middle sector. We've got 4 cars then that are done for this session. There is Ledanes going again, it seems. We'll see what his middle sector time is like and see if he is also still on the pace. He's not. He's a second down. He's done for this qualifying session. So it will be Alfie who will be first to hit the line, and he's got this little chicane here to negotiate. A lot of curb there, maybe a bit too much for his liking, as the car absolutely struggled to stay on the circuit there. But here comes Alfie then, the long run towards that start-finish line. Where is he going to go? Nowhere, because he is actually slower. He does not improve. Here comes Larry. He's into the pit, so he will not improve. Let's go to Ultimate Stan, because he is charging up to the line then in that pink Alpine. Where is he going to go? It's not pole. Improves by a 10th. And someone else jumps at the order. There's MB up into 3rd. That was Raheem that actually provisionally went ahead of him. But that is your qualifying session done. It's that man again. Ledanes on pole position here in F3. And he has absolutely delivered when it matters, because every point is going to be precious from here on in till the end of the season. And Ledanes once again is on pole position, and after a pretty rough week last time out in Monza, he had a bad result there, drop points at Spa as well. He needs a good result tonight. He's had a couple of off weeks, and he started off in style with that pole position. If you're tuning in for the first time on the TFR eSports stream, do be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm trialling something on this stream as well, where we've got the comments coming up on the screen, because I am obviously doing this solo, so be sure to say hello. I will actually probably see that ping up in front of me. But there are your finishing, well, your grid, shall I say, for the Las Vegas GP. It's Ledanes on pole alongside with Ultimate Stan there, with MB in 3rd and Raheem in 4th, with Kerbal completing that top 5. Bit of a mixed up grid, and so they aren't coming up on the screen. That's good to see, because that means if anyone says anything inappropriate, it will not come up on the screen. But that's good. I can see your comments then pinging up for me, which is all good. But yeah, that was your qualifying done, dusted. It's a dry race in store, so it should be fairly straightforward in terms of strategy. However, we're expecting safety cars probably throughout in this one. It is obviously only a 25% race, so it's a quick dash, if you like, to the checkered flag. And, well, let's just see what will happen here. Apparently I'm in game chat. Well, do feel free to mute me. I'll quickly mute those that are hearing me before we head to the action. No, we don't want to view that. Right, there we go. That's that problem solved. So, get your predictions in on the stream. But like I was saying before, if this is the first time you're tuning in to TFR eSports, do subscribe to the channel. If you want to race as well, do get in touch with us, because we can grab you a seat. The F3 division, maybe struggling a little bit tonight for numbers. We are near the end of the season, where this does seem to happen a little bit. but we're nearly there. This is the championship, really kind of on the line here now for certain drivers. And here we go. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Las Vegas. And we are on the way for the F3 Las Vegas GP. And Ledanes then does get a fairly good start, but Almastan will have that inside line into the first corner, has a little look. Can't quite get the move done there, but Stan gets the better line for that next corner, swoops right around the outside and takes the lead from Ledanes. Ledanes there getting a bit out of shape, a little bit wide as well, and has just been picked off there by Stan. But here he comes, coming back up the inside. How much will he risk it here? He has a little think about it, doesn't quite get it, and there's the McLaren getting it all wrong behind. Oh, we've already got a bit of a shunt there down the order, and that is Raheem then and MB tumbling down the order, both with damage. I won't be surprised. There's more contact there as well as the Red Bull struggles to get slowed down, and we have our pile up again here in F3. Raheem and Northey there coming to blows. I'm actually shocked there's not been a VSC or something already, because there's absolute carnage at the back there. But meanwhile to the front, it's Almastan with the perfect getaway and leads on those soft tyres. Obviously, maybe a strategic call there from him to try and get ahead of Ledanes then off the line and make that jump into the first corner. And he got the job done in the end. He didn't quite get it done in the first corner, but he got it done in the end. And he will have to try and break that DRS to Ledanes on that better tyre, as Ledanes gets very close down the end of that straight. And there's the Haas of Alfie making contact there with Kerbold, and a little bit of coming to blows there in that battle for P3. Kerbold then with a decent start as well now, up into that third place spot. He does tend to go, well, quite nicely at this circuit. He seems to be a bit of a fan of street circuits, so we'll keep an eye on him as this race develops. But still, quite a few of the pack all quite close together there. However, we have had Action Rick get a little bit distance there. And then obviously the back two of Raheem and Northey, both with damage on the car. Although it seems as though Northey doesn't actually have too much damage there, as Ollie Bean is now disconnected from the session. Will quickly try and get him back in as fast as I can. There we go. And yeah, hopefully for him, he doesn't tumble down too much. Obviously, the ghosting is off as well, so he will be a bit of a road block for some of these drivers. But, well, Ledanes then is still got the DRS on Ultimate Stand then for the lead. And, well, let's see. There is Ollie Bean back into the session. But you'd imagine here that Ledanes will have a right old go at Ultimate Stand here, down this Vegas strip. I don't actually know if it is the longest strip in the calendar. It might well be now. But here comes Ledanes straight past. And that was what I was going to say. Look how easy it is. It's such a long straight. It's so overpowered, the DRS. It is almost, you can't defend against it when a car has got a straight line speed, DRS and overtake applied. As there's another move in the background, that is Ollie Bean's AI now getting absolutely swamped here. And there is Cypher Mega Hype going to the inside line. He's risking it into this final bend here, going across start finish line. They touch tires, and I wonder if Ollie Bean has managed to get back in control of his car. I think he has actually, and he will try and defend that position. Now having the inside line into this next corner, and he does so. So Ollie Bean is back in the session, and hopefully for him is back in the mix for this race. Ultimate Stand then losing a touch of time to Ledanes there in that first sector, but he is still winning the DRS. That is the key thing with the circuit, is the DRS. It's staying within that second of the car in front, because once you dip out of that, you will really struggle to keep pace with that car in front. Because you can even have a pace advantage, but if you're in that DRS, it's worth at least half a second per lap if you're just sitting behind them. Ultimate Stan has just about managed to do that. He did have a little bit of a wobble going into that part of the circuit just there. And he will now have the DRS open in a moment or so. It's quite late actually in the session, down the straight. And there we go. It is now open and he is gaining on Ledanes here. And the question is really for Ultimate Stand now is how long can he get those soft tyres to work? There's a move then from Ollie Bean in the background. And they do make contact though. And I think they actually, yeah, they have touched. And that is Ollie Bean then with damage, I think, now on that front wing. So both McLarens then with damage. Ollie Bean dives in the pits. Raheem pitted on the previous lap. It's not been a good start for those two at all in this one. But back to the front. Ultimate Stand then, still sitting in that DRS. You see the rear light flashing on the car as well, so they're all charging the battery at this part of the lap. And this is going to be a little bit of a chess game at this stage of the race. You don't necessarily want to be going for it too much now because we are not too far away from the pit stops, and the undercut is quite powerful here. The tyre wear is quite high, so when you choose to make that pit stop will be critical. We're thinking about lap 6 for the soft tyre runners, and then probably lap 7 for the medium tyre runners. But we'll see. It's never quite that simple. And meanwhile, further up, Ultimate Stand very wide there going into that final corner before the straight. Risking it quite a bit, but he will have DRS once more on Ledanes, or will he actually? I don't think he will. No, he doesn't. So he actually lost it there by having such a kind of poor exit onto this straight, and the detection zone, that's kind of what I meant before. As you can see on the track map at the bottom right there, it is almost halfway down the straight, the actual DRS. So your detection point is literally just before it as well. So if you do get a bad exit onto that straight, you won't have it. Caramel's got a penalty, and he's now diving in the pits, with Larry as well following him just behind. So these guys... Oh, and he has obviously got that damage to the front wing. No change of the front wing though. Straight onto the medium tyres. And he will continue his battle to try and finish on the podium here. Larry as well gets it all done and dusted. But so these guys then, so Larry there quite comfortably comes out ahead of Northey, but that just shows though the power of that undercut, because Northey had that shunt on the opening, that queue just behind Larry, so he's kind of brought himself back into play a little bit, and that'll be potentially catching the eye of Ultimate Stan, where he'll know that he probably needs to try and trigger this undercut sooner rather than later, because he seems to just not get the exit onto the straight. He seems to lose a lot of time by probably braking a bit too late into that final turn before the Vegas strip, and is dropping out of DRS every single time. So maybe the time is coming soon for him to try this undercut, and that could be the deciding moment of this race, is how that one plays out. I think Alfie's just had a bit of a moment, and there is Ultimate Stan. He's obviously listening because he's in the pits, and this needs to be a nice clean and good stop then for the Alpine man. And he's also been followed by Alfie and MP just behind. Medium tyres then on the car, and he's just ahead, I think, of Alfie there. Yeah, he was just about. MP puts on a set of hard tyres. That's an interesting call. Bit of a different strategy there from him. Cypher Mega Hype double stacker Haas then also onto the medium tyres. Let's just have a look. There is Larry, and he is going to be wheel to wheel with MP as he comes out the pits. MP on those hard tyres. He's struggling to get the warm up, and he is behind Larry then, but not by much. And with Larry getting the DRS as well, we'll just hold off for now. But Larry doing very well in this race so far, and with Caramel having a penalty up the road, he could be well and truly on for a top 4 finish. But Alfie doing all he needs to do at the minute for damage limitations in his pursuit of the championship, because I'm afraid to say for him, his rival up the road is a long way up the road and is probably out of reach for Alfie in this one. He's just got to try and focus on getting that podium. But Ledanes here is going to be under serious pressure to hold on to this lead, because Ultimate Stan would have had a pretty good outlap here, triggering that undercut. Here comes Ledanes then into the pits. He's had a very good corner there, I think, actually, previously, because he actually put a couple of attempts onto Ultimate Stan. But this is a big moment in the race then. Ledanes in the pits needs obviously a nice clean stop. I don't think you get pit stop errors in the online lobbies. It's hard tyres on the car though, which is a bold call with only about 6 laps to go. And there is Ultimate Stan coming through the first corner as Ledanes gets the power on now. He is ahead of the Alpine. It was close, and he obviously will have cold tyres here. So Ultimate Stan, if he's going to make the move, he's got to do it right now if he wants to win this race. But Ledanes then just hung on there, and that 10th or 2 that he probably gained by really attacking the chicane was enough to hold on to the lead then. So, oh, and we have a yellow flag, and it is Curbold in the wall, and he's completely lost his front wing this time, and a big old clatter into the barrier, and that is Curbold then out of podium contention as Northey swoops right round the outside of that wounded Ferrari. He has to go a bit off the track, and he's just been punted as well by Cypher Megahite for good measure. But Curbold then getting it all wrong under the brakes, and that'll be a long old trip back to the pits if he can make it there. Meanwhile, focusing on the lead, here comes Ultimate Stan then with the DRS on Ledanes. Ledanes here come under serious pressure then from the Alpine, and we've got a bit of a pile up further back. There's an RB in the wall, but there goes Ultimate Stan then up the inside on Ledanes. Ledanes will fight it, and they're going to get oh so close here. They almost hit the wall, and I think Ledanes might have just clipped the barrier. He manages to keep the position, but that was super risky considering what was at play. There's a move in the background. Raheem on the McLaren, I believe. The McLaren of Raheem making the move on Action Rick. This is Curbold again here. He needs to get in the pits. He's got the McLaren who's inside. He lets him go, but that could have been pretty nasty there. But Curbold is now finally into the pits. But that just releases Alfie a little bit. MB has actually now got ahead of Larry, so MB is still hunting down that final podium spot. But Curbold then well and truly out of the mix, and it was Northey then who hit the barrier going onto the Vegas strip. Ultimate Stan still really putting the pressure on here, and he wants that win. He's not in championship contention or anything like that, but he wants that win that he's already had this season. He just wants to add another one to the list as Ledanes took a lot of curb there. Seems to be working for him though, but it is a bit of a risky strategy to take. But the DRS will be open on that Alpine very shortly, and again he's got an almighty run at that Williams. There it goes, the DRS is open. He gets pushed to the wall slightly, but it's an easy pass for Ultimate Stan. Ledanes is hanging out the inside though. That is bold, and it's brilliant from Ledanes because he's hung it up the inside and he keeps the place. Brilliant stuff then from Ledanes. He was not giving that up at all, and he maintains the lead of this race somehow. It wasn't the greatest camera angle, I can't lie, but Ultimate Stan's coming back at him. He almost had a little look up the inside himself. But Ledanes there, really brilliant driving to chuck that up the inside and keep ahead of Ultimate Stan. With not long to go here, he is desperate to get this win. You can see Alfie probably in the background, just ready for something to kick off here between these two. But the pressure will be getting turned up here on Ledanes because he is having to fight hard to keep hold of this victory, and it would be a brilliant win if he can hold on to it, because he's had Ultimate Stan on his tail all the way through this race. Nefo saying I call Ledanes. He's saying Ledanes is going to hang on to this one. I'm not too sure at the minute because Ultimate Stan is seriously going for it. He has a massive moment though coming out of that corner, just scrapes the barrier as well. He'll still have DRS if he can get that car back up to speed, and he will still get the DRS, but he's lost quite a chunk of time this time around. He'll manage to close back up to Ledanes and keep the pressure on. Look who is in the background. Alfie is closing in here at a rapid rate of knots. He is only 2.8 seconds now off the tail of these two, and it ain't over yet for him, because if these two start scrapping hard here, there is enough laps for Alfie to join the party late on here, and we could have a grandstand finish in this F3 Vegas GP. But, well, let's just see. Ledanes this time around is having a great Sector 1 here, and he might have just brought the DRS slightly. He hasn't. Ultimate Stan has still got it. However, lap 10 of 13, if you're just tuning in now, it is a straight fight between these two. Alfie now has dropped a second on this lap and looks as though he is going to be not joining this battle for the win here late on. Carvold sets the fast lap down in 10th place, but that ain't going to mean too much right now. But our full attention is on this one, and Carvold has retired. He's retired earlier on there. Well, that is pretty stupid, because that is points just complete chucked in the bin, and a Ferrari engine even more damaged. So, yeah, less said about that, the better. Anyways, back to the front, and here comes Ultimate Stan then with that DRS, and he's going to the outside this time around. There's going to be a bold move. He can pull that one off, and Ledane's got a penalty. He's got a penalty, and he's chucking out the inside. They touch wheels, and they both hit the wall. So Ledane's there, potentially through pure frustration, trying to hang on then. Here goes Ultimate Stan back to the inside, and they're going wheel to wheel through this final corner, very close once more. And Ultimate Stan then still cannot get this lead here. Ledane's is fighting it like he is just on the last lap, but we still have a few laps to go, and he is absolutely clinging on to this like you wouldn't believe. But Ledane's then, with the penalty now, really is in trouble, because that means Alfie is in range of jumping ahead of the championship leader in terms of this finishing order. It won't matter too much in terms of the championship. It still won't change the order of the two, but it will mean Alfie will once again close in that a little bit more on Ledanes, and it will continue this run of races where Ledanes has dropped points to his championship rival. But Ledanes there with a critical error, getting that penalty, just maybe fighting a bit too hard. He's been fighting desperately hard to hang on to the lead of this race all the way through it. However, you have to question, was it worth getting that penalty? Because Alfie now is about 6/10 off in terms of moving ahead of Ledanes, and he'll know Ledanes has that penalty, and he'll have to lock in now for these final couple of laps. Ultimate Stan has a little look to the inside, a little scrape of the barrier as well, just to boost up the wear on his tyres, and doesn't get the greatest of exits there, but he doesn't need to win this race now, to be honest. He can just settle down and just sit behind Ledanes, and he will pick up the victory. However, will he do that? Or will he keep going at this and want to win it on the circuit? I mean, to be honest, the amount of laps that he has done here of stuck behind Ledanes, you would like to think that he will try and win this outright. But Ultimate Stan chasing win number 3 of this season. Yes, Nifo is correct. There could be a ticket of getting around that pen. Unless he gets another warning, that could maybe get appealed. So that's probably why Ledanes here is still fighting hard to keep hold of this position, because he knows that he'll probably take that to the stewards. But if Ultimate Stan gets ahead of Ledanes here, it doesn't matter. In terms of the race winner here, Ultimate Stan will pick it up, and there's nothing Ledanes can do about it. Ledanes himself chasing win number 4 this season. Here comes Ultimate Stan then, on the penultimate lap here, has the DRS open, and he is absolutely going for it down this Vegas straight. Is he going to be close enough to have a chuck up the inside? Yes, he is. Has a little look. And does he get to slow down? Oh, they're both in the wall. They're both in the wall. And you just knew that was coming at some point. There goes Alfie then, ahead of Ledanes. And he will be absolutely furious with that, because at the minute, he's going to end up off the podium. Incredible stuff here at the end of this race. And Ledanes there now with a heavily damaged car. And that is your championship leader here, completely coming to blows And you have to say his championship as well, really in a bit of trouble. And don't rule out, yeah, there is damage on that front wing of Ultimate Stand. Alfie could still be in the mix here. And there is MB making that move behind for third place. So Ledanes isn't even going to be on the podium. Even if he gets that penalty removed, it's a significant gap to Larry behind. So he'll be safe with that, you would imagine. But what a dramatic end to this race. And, well, that could definitely go to the stewards there between Ultimate Stan and Ledanes. That definitely got out of hand. They've been battling hammer and tongs from lap 1 right to the final lap here, and it came to blows there on the penultimate lap. And yes, let me know in the chat whose fault was that. But Ultimate Stan then has got a bit of a gap to Alfie. He should be safe to secure this victory. Ledanes is still going at this here, trying to hang on to MB to try and get the on-track P3, but I don't think he will. He's going to be too far back to make some crazy lunge into the final couple of corners. And yes, he is way too far back. Liam Kemp saying that was a tyre lock, no one's fault. So that's one verdict already. We'll find out later on what the stewards will say. But it is Ultimate Stan then who will win for the third time this season. He wins the F3 Las Vegas GP. Alfie hits the barrier there as he comes across the line in second. MB completes the podium. He gets 2 back-to-back podiums in his first 2 races in TFR eSports. Ledanes then with more drop points and a dramatic end to that race. Larry completes the top 5 with a great drive from him in the Sauber. Sci-Fi Mega Hype couldn't quite replicate his podium last week in Monza, but a solid result down in 6th. And McLaren once again have a day to forget in 7th and 8th. More points dropped in their Constructors' Challenge, with Action Rick and Northie completing the top 10. What a dramatic race that was at the end. It was all about the battle for the lead, really. And in the end, both of them came to blows. Well. Whose fault was that? And Nifa saying, no, the tyre was hooked. Nobody's saying anyone's fault just yet. But that one is definitely one of the more controversial finishes to an F3 race this season. That's your podium then. It's becoming a familiar sight now, all of a sudden, with Ultimate Stan top step once again. Like I say, he's had a great season. Maybe not quite the most consistent of seasons, but he's definitely had some great results. And bar last time out, he's finished in the top 4 every single race he's done here in F3. And like I say, with a few more races under his belt, who knows? Could have been a different story in terms of contending for the championship. But that remains between Ledanes and Alfie. Raheem is most likely out of that fight just now. But that is your final running order just there. Ultimate Stan then wins the F3 Las Vegas GP at the moment, unless that goes to the stewards later on. Alfie in second, with MB completing the podium. He didn't probably think he was going to get a podium at the end of that one, but he picks up that top 3 spot after Ledanes drops to 4th. Again, shout out to Larry. Great drive from him. That was probably one of his best races in TFR so far, and previously his only best was Italy last week with 6th, so he's only going on the app at the minute, so credit where it is due. Right, that has been your lot for F3 tonight and this week. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back for round 13 next week, the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we'll find out what is going to happen in this next stage of the championship, in this battle between Ledanes and Alfie. The gap is closed once again by Alfie after another dramatic race for Ledanes, but who will end up champion?